Paul Morrow here. Why are we so nuts about gold? Why gold? Of all the things in the world to invest in, let's just review. And I know a lot of folks like to buy gold. I have a little gold wedding ring on. I don't have a lot of other gold. It's not my thing in particular. There are some mutual funds that invest in gold, and there's ETFs, and there's individual stocks, and there's actually bars of gold. From our practice, I will tell you our real life experiences that after 50 years, a very small percentage of our investors actually invested in gold. We actually have one who was very committed, and Teddy was an ultra conservative person. And I will tell you, he not only was committed to gold, he's actually very, let's just say, conservative, a little bit on the world is going to fall apart category, things are going to go bad. He's one of those guys always looking for the worst thing to happen. So for him, gold was a great sleeping pill. He bought funds that went from cash to gold. They're very well known. You can look them up. He's got the GLD, which is an ETF, and that's all great. But let's talk about why. Why are people so crazy about gold? I mean, you can't eat it. You can't drink it, right? Of the important things to keep us alive and prospering, it's not clean air. It's not clean water. It's not that. However, people consider gold a store of value that maybe you could trade for these things. If you didn't have food to eat or water to drink or clean air, perhaps there's some time in history that you could swap this. Now, there are also gold traders, and these are people that not only trade in gold, but they trade in gold miners like Barrick Gold. And that's a topic that you should discuss with your personal financial advisor. In most cases, advisors suggest that in a typical diversified portfolio, perhaps 10% is allocated to what are called alternatives or alts. And those include things like real estate and gold and assets that are not particularly subject to the typical stock market fluctuations. Okay, so that's one reason that people do it. Now, the other reason is obviously to try to make some money. But as our friend Teddy found out, from 2010 to 2025, his gold appreciated 199%. Okay, that's pretty good, doubled in value. But the S&P went up 600% in the same period of time. So when I say that he was a bit disappointed, we did convince him to have some of his money not tied to the gold market. And obviously there was a lot of outperformance. Now, past performance is no guarantee of the future, and I don't know what the future is going to bring. And certainly with Ted, it was really an issue of a sleeping pill and lifetime security. Now, since the 19th century, gold has been like the gold standard. So that started way back when the gold standard backed up currency. So that's one of the reasons that gold became popular, because I could give you a piece of paper that said, $100 on it, but at that time, nobody believed it until we told everybody, listen, this $100 represents a chunk of gold sitting in Fort Knox in U.S. Treasury. Now, Dick Nixon separated us from the gold standard, but the gold standard was a great confidence building thing, right? That allowed people to trade currency all over the world because they felt it was backed by real physical assets. That's number one. Number two, gold right now in 2025 is got some market value attached to things like chips and technology that we haven't even really completely understood yet. This is the dawn of the AI era, the AI age. And a lot of AI is based on compute power. And compute power, in many cases, relies on chips. And chips rely on gold. So there is an issue here for investors to think about. If you're interested in what's going on in AI and you do some research about the potential, and I'm very positive about the compute power and artificial intelligence and all that, but if you bring it down to how these things are constructed and made, they haven't yet found a substitute in the chip business for gold and platinum. Now, the other reason that people like gold is, I have to say, that it has an aura, power, exclusivity, luxury. This is very common. If you look at the lifestyles of the rich and famous, there will be a lot of gold being spread around, whether it's ridiculous things like golden toilets or happens to be gold jewelry. In some cultures, the number one gift for a wedded couple is to give them gold jewelry that they store in their safe and they wear very infrequently. Gold is a thing of lasting value. Why? Well, for the chemical engineers out there and the people who study science, they know that the one thing about gold is it does not degrade. It does not tarnish. It does not expire. That's really big. Now, I'll tell you why. Because I'm not talking today about numismatics. Numismatics is the collection of coins. But gold has been made into florins, ducats, gold coins. And why is it so interesting when people excavate and they find gold coins from ancient era? It's because they're in terrific shape and they have not degraded. They haven't tarnished like other metals. So the fact that gold is persistent and rare is a big part of its intrinsic value. So it's a commodity and it's going to trade and people can buy and sell gold and it's up and down. At our 50th anniversary for our practice, we rewarded all of our clients by giving them little gold bars, which looking back over the last couple of years, those gold bars have appreciated in value. However, we probably would have been better off if we wanted to enrich them, giving them a chunk of stock in NVIDIA or something. But gold represents a thing of enduring value. It represents a thing that may have very interesting future application in this coming age of AI. It's one of the most interesting things is that in the manufacture of certain parts of computers, that there's enough gold in there that the recycling industry is very interested in safe and humane ways to extract from those old computers we're throwing in, those old laptops, those old things. What's in there? Tiny bits of recyclable precious metals, golds and platinum. And in some foreign countries, unfortunately, that work is being done by people with very tiny hands that get paid a very tiny amount of money, otherwise known as children. So we have to try to find a way to recycle those materials that are valuable, right, in a humane way, right? And hopefully with some sort of automation, we can actually take those old computer systems apart and extract from them the things that we need for value in the future. So why are we nuts about gold? We're nuts about it because it's been around for a long time, back to the Roman era, right? Gold represented a way for people to store value, to protect it, and like my friend Ted, not lose it. And he was always convinced that if the world came to an end, if we had another civil war, if we had all that, that if he had chunks of gold, he would actually be able to trade it for the things that can keep you warm, safe, and dry. Housing, food, clean water, etc. Now, I'm not an expert on that, but for those of you that are interested in how gold could fit into your portfolio, I suggest you grab a copy online, right? Hit the subscribe here below. You can attend our free upcoming conference in September 2025 if you're a subscriber. In my 3 books, Smart Financial Wealth Building, Smart Financial Longevity, and Smart Financial Grandparenting, we talk about portfolio construction, and with the help of your personal financial advisor, right, you can decide how much, if any, of this asset should be in your portfolio. Having a smart allocation to gold is just part of the art of being smart.